Imagine showing up to a dirt bike race with no prep, no bike, and on top of all that, lining up with the pros as a C rider. Well, that was me at Red Bull Day in the Dirt this year, and I want to tell you all about it, the entire story. So after my letdown at Mid-Ohio, I didn't really get to do any racing, and I started craving motocross again, or just racing in general. I started watching all these videos. This happens to me a lot. I start watching videos online and I get really inspired, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy a motocross race bike, and I'm gonna go to Loretta's, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that. And it didn't make it any better because I saw these big names posting about Red Bull Day in the Dirt: Carson Brown, Zach Osborne, Stu Baylor. I saw them all on Instagram, like on their stories saying, I'm going. And it was at High Point, not too far from me. So at first I didn't plan on it. Like I said, I didn't even have my 125 together, which is my only like capable bike for this event. The CRF 250F is not the right bike. I'm not going to race a trail bike on a pro motocross track. And I wasn't really riding much moto anyway. I mean, I had ridden the Stark Varg a little bit, but I wasn't really riding that much moto in the first place. But then I saw the local legend Brock Hepler posting on Instagram that he was going to be going, and immediately I was like, oh man, I don't want to miss out on this. This is going to be awesome. So at that point, I started seriously considering it. Well, then I had to like scramble to find a bike, right? So I'm looking through the schedule of the races, and there's all types of different races. There's some vintage ones, there's some like regular ones, there's also some buddy races. And one of the buddy races was called the Old Switcheroo. And basically what it was, you know, you and one teammate, you can either share a bike or you can ride your own bikes. You basically swap every lap, right? So I'm like, oh, I gotta find a buddy for this. Preferably someone who let me use their bike as well, because, you know, none of mine are really operational right now. So I reach out to my one buddy, same one with the KX250. He's on vacation. I reach out to my other buddy. He's doing a hare scramble race somewhere else. Then I thought, oh, what about the dude that has the Stark Varg? He's the one who let me try out the Stark Varg for my other video, my first impressions video. I was like, okay, well, I could ask him, but he hasn't raced in like 13 years. So I was like, probably not gonna say yes, but you know, doesn't hurt to ask, because he also has a 2018 YZ250F. So I was like, okay, well, let me just ask him. So I asked, and he's like, all right, I'll let you know later tomorrow night. So I'm like, I'm not holding my breath. Like I said, he hasn't raced in like 13 years, but later the next day, what do you know? He said yes. So we signed up together for the Old Switcheroo. I was super excited. I couldn't wait. You know, the week's getting closer. We get everything ready, head to High Point. This race was not cheap, okay? Let me tell you this. The Old Switcheroo, to sign up for the race, it was $75 per rider, okay? Not per team, per rider, which I was expecting it to be $75 per team, but apparently not. So that kind of blew me away. And then you're required to have an AMA membership, which is par for the course at a lot of these races, but luckily I had one. But if you didn't, you have to buy that on top of it. Then you got to get a transponder. So it's either $145 to buy one or $45, but that's just to rent it for only one day. So only that event, or I guess it would be the whole weekend, because the event was like 3 days long. So $45, but we were only racing the one day. And then on top of that, the gate fee was about $35. So I'm in the hole pretty deep. And all in all, it's pretty expensive for a single 75-minute race, let alone you don't get 75 minutes per rider. You get half of that because each rider's doing one lap. It was a bit of a pricey race as well, but I guess that's just the state of racing at this point. Once again, why I think personally, and I've been learning this over and over again recently, that hare scramble racing is kind of way more bang for your buck than motocross racing. Hare scramble racing, you go out, you get to literally ride for like 2 hours or more for like the same price as a motocross race, where you only get to ride for like 20 minutes probably at like a local race plus a practice. So anyway, pretty expensive, but regardless, there were a bunch of classes. We entered the Moto Joes class. Now there was the Moto Pros, there was man and woman, parent and child, and then there was Moto Industry, and then there was Moto Joes. So if you're not local pro class, then you're just a Moto Joes. So it was literally like everyone from C riders to top B riders, and there were a lot of people in my class, a ton. So much so that when we signed up, at the event, they ran out of stickers to put on the bikes. We were team number 103. So think of that, 103 teams, and there were more people in line behind us. So there's, 2 people per team. That's at least 206 people on the same track. Not all at the same time, granted, half of that, but you get the point. It was a lot of freaking people. I pull up to the line and it was pretty cool. So we had to wear these like wristbands, and every lap, when you pull in after you get to the finish line, you pull over to the side, and if you're riding your own bike, you only trade the wristband. But if you're sharing the same bike like we were, you have to get, you trade the bike and the wristband, and then the other person goes out for their lap. So it's pretty cool. Now, due to the AMA helmet camera ban rule thing, at Mid-Ohio, I had thought about wearing my chin mount, but I'm glad I didn't, because the dude next to me literally got yelled at for just having a chin mount without a camera, not even a camera on it, just the chin mount itself on his helmet. And the AMA official told him to take that off right next to me. And I was wearing my chest mount, luckily. So I'm like, dude, I don't want to risk not getting footage for this race. So I just went up to the line with my chest mount. Well, a dude pulls up next to me and he has a chin mount on with a camera. I look over at him. I'm like, dude, they allowed you to have that? He's like, oh yeah, I race in Michigan all the time, and I do the AMA series, and I just act first and ask for forgiveness later. They've never said anything. I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll swap. So I ended up doing the first lap with my chest mount on. And then once I got back into the pits and switched with my buddy, I put the chin mount on, and boy, does that make a huge difference. The chin mount is such a better view, way more realistic, way more just easy to watch. And I use the Dango Design gripper chin mount. That's my go-to. I love it because you can actually quickly remove it from your helmet and film. Say you're on a trail ride, right? You just quickly remove it from your helmet, record your buddies, and you can put it back on. You can even attach it to a tree and film yourself riding by. It's a freaking awesome chin mount. And because it was so easy to put on, I was able to quickly swap it during that time period when my buddy was out there on the track and I was waiting for him to come back. So thanks to Dango Design for getting me this awesome footage in the moto. You can definitely tell the difference once I switch to the chin mount, how much better it is. But if you want one of your own, you can check out the Dango Design gripper chin mount through the link in the description. You can also use my code Soup Moto 10 for 10% off. Yeah, so anyway, it was such an unreal moment lining up on the same track as former champion Zach Osborne, freaking legend Brock Hepler, Stu Baylor, Carson Brown, who I had met a month ago at Mid-Ohio, Vicky Golden, Tyler Berriman, Darren Durham, Patrick Evans. I mean, these guys are freaking rippers, dude. And they were all on the same track as me. It was just so cool. It was completely surreal. And to add on top of that, riding High Point for the first time alongside all those dudes that I grew up watching and I still watch to this day, it was just insane. It was so freaking cool. And I don't know, that's just an experience I'll never forget. Now, how did the race go? Well, first off, it was super fun. If you don't know, it wasn't just the High Point racetrack. It was also some of the woods course as well. And they also had a grass track section. So it was basically like a GP, which combines a bunch of disciplines. And it was super fun. Our goal, as far as me and my teammate goes, it was not based on results at all. We just wanted to finish clean without crashing, have fun, overall have a good race and get out on a dirt bike on a nice day. We were both a little shaky on the prep. Obviously, I hadn't really been riding much motocross. I'd been riding a lot, but not much motocross. And my buddy, like I said, he hadn't raced in a long time. So we weren't so prepared for it, but I can be very clear and very sure when I say we were smiling the entire time. We did end up about 48th out of 50 in our class, somewhere around there. And, that completely didn't matter at all to me because it was pure fun. One of the best times on a dirt bike the entire year. Now, was it worth the price? Not in dollars, okay? But it was absolutely worth the memories. And, an interesting coincidence, actually, my buddy, the teammate that I was riding with, he's my dad's friend, right? He told me this story about when I was born. Yeah, literally when I was born. He apparently was riding dirt bikes the same day that I was born, and he broke his wrist, okay? he went to the hospital. And at the same time he was in the hospital for his wrist injury, I was in the hospital being born. And he told me, he was like, dude, that was so fun. Never did I ever think when I was sitting there in the hospital with my wrist broken that someday I would be racing with that same kid that was being born in the hospital. And that just put it all into perspective. That's the whole point of stuff like this, right? Laid back, focused on fun, not too much pressure, just like realizing what being on a dirt bike is all about, what this community is all about. So thank you so much to everyone who made it possible, especially my buddy who was my teammate, provided the bike, especially my parents, everyone around me that supports me. Scott Goggles in particular, I tried roll-offs for the first time, was able to buy them thanks to Scott Goggles. They really helped me out on that deal, and I really like the roll-off system. I'll definitely be using it in the future. It's such a good peace of mind not having to worry about, you know, how many tear-offs you have left. And even though that race wasn't particularly muddy, I know that like if I was doing a long hair scramble or something, those things are definitely going on and I will be wearing them. Speaking of stuff I was wearing, shout out to Commonwealth Press for the kick-ass shirts that we all wore. Everyone there, me and my crew, we were walking around High Point, super recognizable, super dope. If you want to get yours, check it out through the link in the description. You can get yourself a Soup Moto shirt and it helps me be able to continue doing races like this. So I'm already planning to go back next year. I would love to race multiple days and more classes as well. But I guess my question to you is, would you pay that much for just one race, just to ride with the pros, or would you skip it? Me personally, I would definitely do it again. I think it was worth it for the memories.